Liberia's electoral body is facing renewed uncertainty following the resignation of its chairperson, Davidetta Browne-Lansanah. Her departure comes just over 2 years after she oversaw Liberia's closely watched 2023 presidential election, which resulted in the peaceful transfer of power from former President George Weah to the current president, Joseph Boakai. A moment which is widely seen as a positive example of democratic change in West Africa. However, Browne-Lansanah's resignation follows months of reported internal tensions within the National Elections Commission and growing political pressure. The development has sparked debate about the independence and stability of electoral institutions in Liberia and across the region. Well, to help us understand the implications, I'm now joined from the United Kingdom by Global Affairs analyst Paul Ejime. Paul, thanks very much indeed for joining us, and a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
So Liberia was widely praised for its credible election in 2023 that led to this peaceful transfer of power. How significant then do you think this resignation of the elections chairperson, chair commission, is at in the country's democratic history right now?
So I think that is one of the challenges of electoral democracy in Africa, that many of the electoral umpires, electoral commissions, they call them in the French, all of them claim to be either independent or autonomous, or so they even in their names, but they are anything but. Why? Because of a lot of interference, political interference, pressure from the politicians, and a lot of things that go into people trying to manipulate this a very important institution. It's not just in Liberia; it goes across the region. That is why even in the Economic Community of West African States, where you used to have 15 countries, now almost 4 are governed by the military. It's because the politicians have been manipulating, they've been conducting what you call political coups, constitutional coups, ballot box coups, and they find the electoral umpire or the electoral commissions in this mess, because they at times it is how they are recruited, their members. They are either appointed by the executive, the president, and so they actually, many cannot resist the temptation of not, complying with what the executive or the president, tells them. And in the case of, so that is what is there. This we call it let me put it, pressure and interference. That and many cannot resist it because of where we are. At times it is through what is it called? Using a lot of other things. They can give money or use threats, so that these people who occupy these positions are not being professional. Some of them are compliant, others try to do their best, but that of Liberia, Davidetta Browne-Lansanah, she conducted an election that was acclaimed locally and internationally in a region where elections are flawed. The processes are interfered with or manipulated, that you do not get a credible and transparent election. So this is where we are. They use it everywhere to make sure that the result or what comes out of elections, does not reflect the will of the people. So we'll go deeper into her case, because after she did that, she conducted that election. And in West Africa, let me tell you, of those 15 countries, you can count on your fingers how many. Liberia and Senegal and there may be Ghana. These are countries that conducted elections in the recent years that actually, you will say, met the international best practice, or were free of interference, or did not go to court, because after they have failed from at the polling unit, the next thing that they ask people to go to court, knowing that the courts have also been compromised by the executive. So that is what has many people say democracy has failed in Africa or whatever. My thesis is that it is the people, the practitioners, the politicians that have actually failed democracy, Peter.
That leads me to my next question then. Sometimes people vote out the person before by voting in the next one, but then they have buyer's remorse. Do you think that the people in Liberia have buyer's remorse over the current president? Has his popularity waned?
It's not so much as the president there, Joseph Boakai, is a tested veteran politician. It's not question of what has happened is not about remorse. It's a case of people, politically exposed people with him, or that is in government, who do not like the gut of this lady, a former veteran broadcaster, by the way, a journalist that worked for the UN and worked, had a track record before going to the Electoral Commission in Elections Commission in Liberia, and then proved herself. She had worked served as a co-chair before she was brought in there. By the way, the election that she conducted, the sitting president lost. That who actually appointed her, George Weah. You remember the footballer? He was the one that appointed her, but she conducted an election in which George Weah lost. Then coming to this new president, before now, I think last year, this lady was also suspended for, what did she do? I think she took the administrative reasons. There were some people she considered that for insubordination, 25 of them laid them off. That led to a protest. The presidency investigated her and found that there was no case, that she acted professionally. I think perhaps her mistake was continuing, because that was a warning sign. After that, her vindication, she ought to have left instead of staying, because those who are against her, the politicians, are using some staffers, some staff members of the commission to undermine her, and they were not going to let up. And that is the thing about this, that if you decide to work in, that's why many good people are not in government in Africa, because they will paint you, they will, they try to bring you into what they are doing to break the rules, right, and you are not malleable, you don't, they will find a way of throwing you out under the bus or throwing you out. I think Madam Davidetta made a mistake that after they had vindicated her, she ought to have just resigned and not wait until now, because these people will not. So it's not about the presidency. A lot of people are there. Peter, let me tell you this. It's not solely about the president.
Time, so I'm going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. But I want to say thank you so much for joining us, Paul Ejime. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me. I wish we had more time.
Next time. All right, so that's the Global Affairs Analyst, Paul Ejime, ending that interview and ending the program, because it's time to hand over to the morning program On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin.